light, ever expanding and illuminating truth, which is always revealed with wisdom, a spiritual nutrient necessary for vitality that is maintained through selflessness, a filter of ether that aids purity, which is love. Love, a limitless paper lantern floating into infinity on the intentions and actions of initiates of the mysteries. All right, welcome everybody. We got a special guest with us here today. We got Asa Leveaux. Asa, what's good, man?
What's going on, sir? I am well. How are things with you?
Pretty good, man. I had a rough spot this weekend, but I've kind of navigated through it and come back out on top of it. So it's nice to be able to work through some of my stuff and be in a better place.
Now, I must ask, even though it's not my show, what happened this weekend?
Essentially, I was stuck more in ego than peace, and I was looking for all these external solutions for internal problems, I guess I would say. And then on Monday, I went to one of my meetings, and I was reading something, and somebody called me and called me out and said I wasn't reading the right day, and I got this slice of humility where then I stepped back and looked at all my problems, and I was like, I've kind of been looking at everything like this. Because when they told me I was wrong on the date, a couple people did, and I questioned all of them and assumed that all these other people were wrong and not me.
I get that.
Yeah, so it was kind of nice to get humbled, because then I got back and centered with myself.
Understood. Definitely understand.
Yeah, man. I like to start out by asking people what they're grateful for. What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for the ability to smile. There have been times when smiles were too costly to give.
I like the way you said that, man.
Way too costly. There were times when smiles seemed as far away as clouds. Like they seemed very far. And so I'm very grateful that I now possess them today.
That's awesome. I really like how you said that. It's very poetic, man.
Thank you.
What quotes do you feel most moved by, and could you explain what they mean to you?
Yeah, so Steve Martin has a quote that says, be so good they can't ignore you. And as someone who has grown up in a pint-sized package, like 5, 6, 5, 7, depending on how much yoga and stretching I do. So my mother, who's shorter than me, always told me, like, you show up and let people know that you are here, because they can't. What does she say? She says that it's just time to reap. That's why she always tells me. She said, you've been sowing too long. It's just time to reap now. So I think about things like that in as far as being so good that they can't ignore you. One thing that my mother says also is simply so, like so. And I love that. And I use that often. So you have a problem with me. So you don't think I'm good enough. So you take issues with books I've written or podcast interviews I've done, or how I have chosen to decipher and then grab hold and take life. You have an issue with that. So what? It doesn't matter what someone else is thinking about me if it's not bringing them a level of discomfort, and it's not intentional based on me. Because I've also realized in being an entrepreneur for this long that people can actually have an issue with you, talk noise about you, forgive you, and add you again, all without your participation. Literally, they really can. And they've done it. And I'm like, oh, when did you come back? I didn't know you left. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I like this. So that's something I should probably practice in my own life when I start getting that negative self-talk. I think I like your quotes, man. The Steve Martin one is a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I'll say is, like, from the moment we started talking, you definitely have a presence, and it's like this very energetic but like calm, peaceful energy. So I like how you introduce yourself energetically, I guess.
Well, thank you. That took work.
I'm sure it did, man.
I don't necessarily think I was born with that.
I don't
but
think
I
anybody's necessarily been born.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So could you explain who you are and what you do?
I'm so thankful that you separate those two, because I am not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Who I am. Who I am. Because I say who you are as the person before you knew the world could define you.
Oh, wow.
And who I am is this jovial, grounded individual who desires to taste life with my feet.
Mm.
That's who I am. Now, what I do is I train aspiring entrepreneurs to create their first $10,000. That's what I do on the for-profit side. And what I do on the not-for-profit side, through one of my initiatives, is I actually am the founder of something called Queer School. Queer School is where we offer global master classes to the LGBTQ community. So we actually have almost 200 students around the world, to include Brazil, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Canada, and of course the US.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I really like how you explain who you are too. You have this very poetic way of phrasing stuff, dude. It's phenomenal. It's really enjoyable to hear.
Thank you.
So with the school part of things, you just go and teach them, offer them these classes so they can have a better opportunity in the work fields or stuff like that?
So for the for-profit side, on the Genius Academy side, which is training and development, our intent is to make sure that entrepreneurs, because there's two different divisions of Genius Academy. One is for corporate trainings and the other one is for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But for entrepreneurs, that is to really let them understand that they could really have the existence that they once dreamed real. Once upon a time, they had an idea about themselves, and through frustration and receiving no after no after no after no after no after no after no, they sometimes forget what's possible. And so I desire to reintroduce themselves to themselves and their dreams by presenting fact-based, not theory, fact-based things that they can do that's specific. So for instance, somebody is frustrated on how to make money. I then say, okay, I understand your frustration. What are you doing every day to combat that frustration? Because the best medication against frustration is action. So what are you doing? And they say, well, I was posting. Okay, well, I'm going to go to your Facebook profile and I see meme, scripture, ratchetness, meme. So I'm going to call BS on the fact that you say you've been taking action. So this is how you can take action now. So it's very, very particular, precise things. Now, as far as the nonprofit, our intent there, still training and development, but we want to make sure that most of these are very, very young adults, very, very young humans. So 17, 18 years old, And for that community, right now in that space of help seems to be two different sides. One is the pride side, and we know we just got out of June, which is officially in the US Pride Month, even on a federal basis. We just left the pride season, and now it's like if you're not in the pride, you're committing suicide. Like, is there anything in the middle between pride and suicide? Like, there's a whole lot of things out there. Like, yay, yay, pride, pride, beer, glitter. And then there's like all these institutions and organizations that provide suicide hotlines and things of that nature. Both are needed, but there's also a need in the middle so that we can offer a level of rhythm, ebb and flow, so that we don't have to occupy either of those sides.
That makes sense. So it's kind of like developing their confidence in themselves, but not to one extreme, and helping them learn practical skills.
Yes.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I think that's really honorable. Did you feel like you were different than others as a child?
I didn't want to feel different as a child. I feel like I received the intentions of others to make me feel different. And I chose to accept their definition of me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I say I chose because I'm a human. I'm not a rock. I could move if I wanted to, but I didn't. I chose something because the alternative wasn't as opportunistic as I desired it to be growing up. And so that looked like being called a lot of different things, and that sometimes looked like not being called anything ever and being totally dismissed. And to have your presence dismissed continually makes you sometimes wonder, why are you still around if you just keep getting dismissed? So yeah, I had challenges with that, about that being different. And it wasn't until I was 30 that I finally realized or stepped into the knowing how divine I actually am.
Wow. I can relate a lot to what you said there. I personally, my journey was different, obviously, because we're different people. But one of the most liberating things for me in my own life was realizing that rather than people made me act a certain way, I chose to act that way, and I actively participated in going down that road, because then I can change me. If other people had made me do something, I can't change anybody else. So finding that liberation and realizing that it was a choice for my best interest at the time to act how I acted or to do what I did, there was a lot of power in that, I would say.
Yes, indeed.
And I can also relate to being there but not feeling like you were there, people making you not feel like you were there or whatever.
Yeah.
I totally get that, man. Like I said, different reasons, but same outcome, I would say, in lots of ways.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of feel like you answered this in some ways, but when did you first notice, in what instance, that you felt different? You don't have to answer it if you don't want to either.
Now, the first time I knew that I was different was when Thriller came out. So anybody knows Michael Jackson. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know who Michael Jackson is, even though he has passed now or transitioned now. Thriller came on, and I am the eldest of 5 children. And when Thriller came on, that particular week or weekend, we happened to be at my grandmother's house, and my siblings, who are all younger, and our cousins were in the back room watching Thriller. Now, they were watching Thriller in a way that was very joyous, in a way that was just happy. I mean, they are laughing, learning the dance moves. It is a great event for them. That is not what's happening to me. I am having an emotionally significant event watching and being introduced to Thriller, to the point that I am in the living room with my grandmother on the couch, almost paralyzed from movement. It wasn't until years later is when I actually watched a slave narrative called Beloved with Oprah Winfrey. And that's when I realized that I am something called empathic.
Mm.
And empathic is to, okay, you know how psychics can tell about your future? Empathics can tell about your now.
Mm.
We can feel all the things you don't want to tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I will literally be on the subway in New York and like, whoa, there's a lot going on with him or her. I will do my best not to actually embrace certain people fully because I'm not able to take on everything that they're wrestling with.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in relationships where we're sitting down and I literally look over to the person and say, could you do me a favor? Could you tell your mind to be quiet? And they will say, I'm sitting here in silence. No, I get it. Your mouth's not moving, but your head is buzzing right now. It is very significant. And I'm going to ask that that's quiet right now because it is very loud. And they don't really get it. And I understand it. And I still try to explain it. But yeah, that's what being empathic is like.
Mm. I can relate to having empathic abilities. That was something that, like, in my personal life, I never really knew what it meant. And I would always kind of say, people made me feel this way. They made me feel that. And it wasn't until after I had some mental health things and I evaluated, I looked at it at first from like this logical side. Borderline personality disorder has one of those things where you take on other people's emotions or you read it. And to me, I identify that with empathy. And one of the things that I've realized is, like any kind of gift, when you start out, it's in its raw, unrefined form. So I was getting pulled this way and that way by everybody's emotions. And then I had to learn to kind of separate myself from other people, which was really confusing. And it's like something I'm still learning to do. But yeah, I can definitely I've lived in Vegas or other big cities, man. You get caught up in all this chaos of everything else going around you. And you're like, where the hell is this? Like, at least I was like, where the hell is this coming from?
Yeah.
Especially because I would try to drown it all out with like alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. So it just muddied it way more, man.
Yeah. And because it's a big city, it's very available to have something to drown it out at any corner. It's just a text away.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, empathy is sometimes I feel like the common understanding of it isn't like, it's the unrefined version of it, because once you like dial it in, like it seems like you have to be with where you're at. It really is a really nice thing in lots of ways. It can still be confusing if you can pick up on stuff about people that other people don't want to admit or consciously aren't aware of.
Yeah. And we don't do frauds well either. So I can tell someone who's fraudulent. And I don't mean having that limiting belief about being a fraud. No, I mean like you're a fraud. Like you are acting one way. And I know just as soon as I or we leave your presence, you are someone else. I can tell that.
Yeah. I have a hard time with that element, but I think everybody probably has like special abilities within their special ability.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're all mutants.
That's awesome. Did you have any odd experiences you were willing to discuss?
Odd?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the reason why I find it odd to have an odd experience is because I see so much commonality with people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know other people who were a part of foster families. So I have adopted sisters. I remember my mother bringing in foster kids. I remember we had a a newborn Caucasian boy, baby, who we got on my 11th birthday. Like my 11th birthday, she brought home a little white baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally in a rocking chair nursing this baby on my birthday. Not in a mean way, but I'm like, wow, this is my birthday and I'm nursing a baby. So that's different. But then I've met other people who've done the same thing. I don't really see odd, because I've always met somebody else that's already been through that as well.
I like that answer, man. I like it. Now we're gonna bounce back to what I like to call like a fun question. What superpowers do you possess, or what superpowers would you want?
So the superpower I possess, I really do feel like empathic in a superpower I possess.
Mm-hmm.
That is not normal. And when I explain it to people who definitely don't have it, I am looked at like, is he a little off? Just a little bit. So that's something I possess, but a superpower that I would love to have is the ability to forgive instantly.
That would be a hell of a good superpower.
Yeah, because my thing is, I understand the word forgiveness in a way that I heard talked about in the 90s, which was, the definition is, you can thank the person for the experience. That's when you know you've forgiven them.
Mm-hmm.
So can I actually walk up to my ex-wife and say, thank you for all the times you didn't love me the way I needed you to love me? Can I walk up to my father and say, thank you for not being there?
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate, man. Forgiveness is one of those things that I've really had to apply in my own personal life a lot to move forward. And it can be a lot of work, because sometimes there's just things that, one of the things I've noticed in my own life, the longer I've held on to something that I'm upset about, the more that's packed on top of it. Like, the more time it's there, the more sturdy it is in my mind.
Oh yeah. It becomes almost a part of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get it, man. That would be one hell of a superpower. I kind of feel like, though, part of the benefit of actually coming to that forgiveness, though, too, is the work that's required of it, because it takes a lot of fortitude. But it would be a nice superpower to get the benefit of it and just kind of move past it right away.
Yeah, real, yeah, just let it go.
Mm-hmm. What circumstances do you feel shaped your life?
Quite a few of them. Being the eldest of 5, that has shaped me in every way possible, because that allowed me a level of managerial responsibility that you just can't teach in school. Like, you just can't teach that. To have 4 people under your control from the time you are 10.
Oh, wow.
10. And what that looks like is ensuring that they've all been fed by the time your mother gets home, making sure that all their clothes are ironed and starched for the week, making sure an entire house is clean from the bottom up to include your mother's bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has definitely done some things. Being in the military for 15 years, that definitely added something to that. Being married and divorced. I often tell people, if you ever want to find out somebody who can come back from anything you throw at them, find a divorced person. Wow. Because to put your entire existence into the arms and the hands of somebody you adore, and then watch them take those hands and try to crush the living hell out of you over the course of time, and then to come back into life as though you are finding another pair of hands that might do the exact same thing. Yeah, I think that is resilience in human form.
Wow. Yeah, those are powerful examples. Sounds like you had a lot of discipline early on, and then you participated in more discipline through the military. And then the mental and emotional discipline to make it through that. And like you said, resilience. It's like I had a relationship where I was dating this girl for like 7-8 months. And when we broke up, I was devastated for like 2 years. It wasn't even that serious, man. So I can't even imagine what it would be like a marriage, having to go through that and then still coming out on top of it.
It is weird because my thing is you actually do go through a ceremony where you say, we're not even separate people. We are now this creation, this embodiment of this new creature. So yeah, it's real.
Yeah. What song? Oh wait, I skipped ahead. My mistake. What positive lessons did you learn from negative experiences?
The positive lessons that I've learned from negative experience is that I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
That's awesome, man.
I'm not. And then within a little more digging, eventually I'll find out too that neither were they.
I can relate to all of that. And I think a lot of people that hear this probably can relate to a lot of that as well. It seems like people either get into this, a lot of good people get into this false sense of how horrible they are. And a lot of people that do a lot of crap to other people get in this false sense of how great they are. And then a lot of people just paint everybody else as all this negative stuff so they can make themselves feel better, or because that's what they need to do to move on. Like, I've done a little bit of all of that at times in my life, so I get it, man. What songs or bands have lyrics that most resonate with you at this moment?
Okay, so I am very eclectic. When it comes to songs or anything, art. So one song is by an artist called Goapele, and her name is spelled Goapele, and she has a song called Closer. Every time I hear this song, I want to drown in her voice. And I'll read you a couple of the lyrics. It says, closer to my dreams, it's coming over me. I'm getting higher, closer to my dreams. Feel it in my sleep. Sometimes it feels like I'll never go past here. Sometimes it feels like I'm stuck forever, but I'm going higher, closer to my dreams. I'm going higher and higher, I can almost reach. So that's Goapele. I love Incubus. I actually got to see Incubus in concert in Santa Barbara a few years ago. And I love the song Aqueous Transmission.
That's a good one.
Yes. So I'm floating down a river, oars freed from their holes long ago, lying face up on the floor of my vessel. I marvel at the stars and feel my heart overflow. Yeah, I dig that. I dig that a lot. And then there's a gospel song called I Need You. And it goes, I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. Then it goes on to say, I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive.
Oh, wow. Those are all amazing lyrics. I really like the gospel, and that's one thing that I haven't been exposed a lot to is stuff of that nature, just because it's outside of my realm of experience, really.
I understand.
I like the very first one that you shared as well. I'll have to actually check that out. It sounds like something I'd like in my playlist.
Yeah.
And then Incubus, a great band. I'm actually thinking about going to get tickets to see them. They're coming to town in like a week or
Oh,
two.
nice.
Yeah.
Go see them.
I saw them once before when I lived in Vegas, and I actually
Oh.
think they ended their set with Aqueous Transmissions.
If that's not the best thing to end a set with, like, oh, it's finally playing.
Yeah, it's such a peaceful
Yeah.
song, man. Yeah, those were all great. So, what philosophy, spirituality, or religions do you find most aligned with your understanding? And could you please explain them as they apply to you?
None of them and all of them.
I like it.
So I am not a member of any religion, though I once was. Um, when I'm introduced to a religion, I am usually introduced to it by somebody within it, and so I get to see the wonderfulness, the miraculous nature of it, how divine that walk is, and then I began to look more deeply and can see it, how it has transformed people into adding a level of ego. And so they actually become to identify with the thing they did not create, to the point that it is the totality of who they be.
Oh, wow.
To the point that they will argue, fight, rape, whatever, in the name of the thing they identify with. And that does not bring me joy. So I'm not a member. However, I like the notion of beads, like with the rosary beads. I love that notion. I love the notion of chakras. I love the notion of meditation. I love the notion of residing in divinity. But I also, for myself, get this, that the only thing that a prayer is a small part of God making a request to a larger part of God. I don't believe that there is anything other than me on the ether. There's nothing in the ether that is outside of myself. We are all a part of one another, and we are all divine. And so because of that, when people just have to, and they push it, I say, I'm a disciple of love. I'm a love-based disciple. And I mean that truly, truly, and a way that somebody can begin to practice that idea is engage with each person as though they are five, not in a way of authoritarian or dismissiveness, but in a way that 5-year-old just doesn't know all the things that someone else does, and that's somebody's baby. Like that, a 5-year-old is still young enough, old enough to be definitely somebody's baby. Even if that 5-year-old is left under a bridge, somebody's gonna adopt that child because that's a baby. A functioning one, or articulate one, but a baby nonetheless. And so that's one way that I can stop myself when having issues with somebody, is take a breath, view them like they're 5, and wonder, what are they scared of? What part of their development did they miss out on to get to this point? Things like that.
I get it. No, I relate to like the spirituality approach. It's like, I view mine as kind of like buffet style. I take what I want, leave the rest.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I really like how you explained, it's like a smaller part of God talking to a larger part, or divine source or whatever. It's kind of like one brain cell shooting off and sending a message to another part of the brain, or the brain itself. I like that, the way that you described it. You're good with words, man. I enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. What do you perceive as your life's purpose?
I have to remind myself that I am all things wonderful by just being. I don't have to do anything or prove anything to myself or anyone else to make that reality different.
Mm.
And so sometimes we look at life's purpose as a way of doing something. What can we, because sometimes, I'm not saying that you did, but sometimes we take that question and we say, what we really want to say is, what do we think that we should be doing to make ourselves valuable?
Mm.
And I don't think so. I think that there are things I choose to do that are valuable to others, but the only thing I have to do is be. I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that too, man. I respect that opinion a lot. That's one thing that there was so much time that I spent looking for my life's purpose and what I should be doing, all this kind of stuff. And after my experience with mental health and starting to rebuild on that, I realized that I had a gift through all my suffering that I could help other people by overcoming it and sharing that experience with other people and just being a solution to my own problem, and that could help people. And it was weird. It's like I didn't have to do anything beyond take care of myself and learn to be me and be happy.
Yep, that's it. That is it.
It's a big reliever when you do that, because then your definition of success is completely different than the standard definition of success. Because as long as I wake up and I'm true to myself and not harming people, I've had a successful day.
Yeah. And I would even, and for anyone that's listening, my thing is, even with that question, to become more clear in the questions we ask. So I don't often ask people, are you successful? I want to know specific things. So I will start a conversation with, how is your heart?
Mm.
Literally, like, how's your heart? And then once they tell me about that, how's your head? And then they'll tell me about that, because that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You might have had a sucky week as far as sales, and money is dwindling by the moment. But guess what? The day's not over and you're still alive. So those are chances to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, you can look at things as problems or as lessons, and
Mm-hmm.
looking at it as lessons is a lot easier.
For me, it is, definitely.
No, I agree, man. Um, what do you need to do to feel that you're working towards your goal of being? That question kind of falls flat when the purpose is being, but before
Yeah,
you have an
but
answer.
it's still now it's more a monumental question. As a matter of fact, ask it again, please.
Yeah, certainly. What do you need to do to feel that you are working towards your goal or your life's purpose?
Stop judging myself and others against myself and others,
Mm.
because comparison really is a thief of all joy.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that too. I've definitely experienced that, man. So this one can be somewhat difficult for some people. Some people have great ease with it. If you had to describe your personal philosophy or condense your life experience into a few words, what would that be?
Keep fucking going.
Nice. Not even no hesitation at all. I dig it, man.
No matter what. Oh my God.
I dig it.
No matter what, keep fucking going.
Who inspires you?
People who inspire me put smiles on my face and an energy in my step. My son does that. My son does that. I call him my SON and my SUN because of it.
Mm.
From time to time, I will allow people into my heart space that can do that too. It's rare, but it's there. And sometimes I don't even let them know that they occupy that level of space. So sometimes the people that inspire me the most, they have no clue and they're connected to me.
I get it, man. I always like when people say their family, because for me, one of the things that really was difficult for me at one point was having all these role models and inspirations that were like these big lofty people, because it's like so impossible to ever like follow through with that or like really gain anything from it, because it's constantly pushing me down when I look up at them. I'm in their shadow basically when I'm in that position.
Yeah, and it feels horrible to do that. Someone 2 days ago messaged me and asked to actually speak to me on the phone. And so I said, okay. And they said, yeah, I'm really having a hard time with time and scheduling. And I said, okay. And I just want to know what you do. I said, why do you want to know what I do? So that I can do that too. I said, oh, please stop it. I said, because it took me 3 to 4 years to finally stop basing my day on someone else's day I've never met. Because guess what? I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do shit. I ain't doing it. It's not happening. I wake up at 7. Why? Because I'm really good at 2 o'clock in the morning when it comes to productivity. And so I don't need to wake up at 5. I have nothing to prove.
I get it, man. I used to be the late night one because it's all quiet then. You have all that time to yourself. Now I actually get up at 5 because it's quiet then, and
I get it too.
When I start my day.
Right.
It's the same concept. Learning to schedule too is like one of the trickiest things for me, man, because I've always been. I used to work in kitchen, so I was a line cook, culinary degree. My schedule would always rotate, so I never really had to schedule anything. And then in the past year, I say practicing being an adult, or maybe adulting is the best way, because I don't want to. I got Peter Pan syndrome, and I'm a Toys R Us kid. But it's like learning to actually schedule stuff has been one of the best blessings in my life, because it makes things so much easier for me.
I get that though. Yeah, my calendar is real now. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
at all.
I need to become a lot more tight with that element. That sounds like good advice that I could benefit from. But yeah, I like how you say that, like, the person wants to do exactly what you do, but it's also like what you do might not work for them, like, because you have all this experience that has led you to the choices you make. And if people try to apply stuff without the direct experience behind it, it could just turn into a giant mess.
Yeah, it's like taking a sports car, and somebody has had time to learn about their sports car. And so if you give a 14-year-old who's never driven the sports car, that tool and way of being doesn't work for that person. It's still a great tool, but that tool doesn't work for that person.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to find your own approach. What books would you recommend to others, or what books have impacted you the most?
Okay, so I loved what is that? Viktor Frankl. Like a man's guide to living or something like that. Viktor Frankl.
I've heard people mention that name and book. He was in the concentration camp. That gentleman.
Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning. That's the name of it. Yes, the man from the concentration camp. Reading that was like, whoa, like really, wow. So I love that. I actually liked Tuesdays with Morrie. I liked that book. Some call it cliche, but I liked Tuesdays with Morrie. If you never heard of it, it's about a man who goes and visits an older gentleman on Tuesdays. and before he passes away. And so he gives all these life lessons before he passes. I really love The Color Purple, the book. The book, The Color Purple, is something else. I love the book that I read in middle school called The Giver. There's a movie about it now, but let me tell you, the book is so much better.
That's always the case, isn't it?
Like, yeah, so much better. So yeah, The Giver. 10X by Grant Cardone. 10X by Grant Cardone. It means everything that you want in life, all you need to do is add a 10 times approach to your action to get the thing you need. That's the basics of it. And I loved reading that. And of course, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was the thing that shifted everything up here about what was possible for me.
What was the name of it again?
Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah, that book. Yeah, you read that 2 and 3 and 4 times. You don't read that once. You always go back to that one because there's something there for you. And I'm trying to think if there's another one. Oh, Iyanla Vanzant, In the Meantime. I've started considering just that phrase more lately. Like, what are you doing in the meantime? So before you're single and you're looking for somebody to, co-create life with, what are you doing in the meantime? Your job isn't where you want it to be. Your business is where you want it to be. So what are you doing in the meantime?
I get that too, man. I've been single for a while, and it's like, for me, like, one of the things that I found is I have to be who I want to date, in a sense. Like, I have to exhibit those kind of characteristics and stuff. I obviously don't want to date me.
Right, me.
But like, I have to exhibit the characteristics of what I would like my ideal partner to have. And that's kind of a trip, because when I do that, I realize what like demands I have, and I'm like, crap, that's impossible.
Right. I made a post the other day about that, and I said, what do you think the person you're supposed to be with or you want to be with is doing right now? And then it was like a couple of spaces, and I said, are you doing that? So if you want somebody with this crazy gym body who's probably in the gym right now, why are you at the bar? Like, seriously. So yeah, think about where you want them to be right now, and then go there.
That makes total sense, man. I'm gonna have to check out some of those books. That's one of the things I've really enjoyed, is like trying to see what other people have been reading, because then it gets me outside of me and gives me a different perspective and turns me on to stuff that I might overlook in a typical day.
Right, I get that.
So I have one last question. Is there anything that you might want to add? Anything you want to throw out? Anything you want to discuss?
No. It's been a pleasant conversation. I appreciate you having me on your platform. I never take light of someone allowing me to do that. No, I don't have anything I would necessarily add. I know my book person probably wants me to add things based on books I have coming up, but no.
Yeah, you can drop books. You can say your links, and I'll put them in the description.
Well, the next book title is pretty real. I'll say that. It's coming out in August, and the book title is literally called Fuck Balance.
It sounds like an interesting read. I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for it, because I've been working so hard to find balance, but I've also realized that balance is only like a momentary thing, because as soon as you get it, you're about to go one way or the other. At least I am.
Right. And so I take issue with the actual literal idea of balance. So not when it comes to, having your inner ear, not that kind of balance, not a balanced diet, but I mean this whole idea of the work-life balance. because the work-life balance idea was a construct of the 1970s from large corporations to make employees feel good about coming to work.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know that. And so as entrepreneurs, you're identifying with a paradigm that was never even created for you, ever. Because if I really thought about my life being balanced, I would probably be borderline suicidal.
Mm.
Because if I gave the amount of time to my business as I did to someone that I have a love interest with, that I do to my son, that I do to my mother, that I do to my group of friends that I refer to as the vault, as I'm going to, like, all these things, no, not balance in the least little bit. And what balance does is allow comparison to take place. So when someone's projecting this idea of balance on a social media, so you have their morning post, and their morning post is good morning, this is a beautiful day. And then their midday post is them and their family, oh, look at the achievements and we're going on vacation. And then their evening post is about the successes that they've had that day in their business, again with a smile on your face, with a well-balanced diet, with grilled chicken, parsley, and filtered water. And that's just not how life is.
Mm.
No, because there are things that happen in the meantime between those posts that people don't talk about.
Yeah, they're framing their reality, basically.
Right, exactly.
No,
So,
I
yeah.
definitely want to keep my eyes open for that, man. I mean, I seem to learn the most when things get unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like if things were balanced all the time, I wouldn't learn anything.
Yeah, and I'd rather live in rhythm. I'd rather live in ebb and flow, and because sometimes things are nice, and then sometimes you need to get a lesson so that something else can be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I respect that, man. Yeah. If you want to drop me your links too, I'll put them in the description so anybody can check out your stuff or get a hold of you or if they need to or whatever. For your entrepreneurial services.
Sure.
I just want to say, man, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciated the conversation. I appreciate your energy, your perspective. I knew that when I asked Nixie if she could help me find some people to connect with, that they would be some cool people. And I have a good feeling about everybody else I'm going to talk to after talking with you. Like I already had a good feeling. Like it's nice to start this off with you, I guess, because I like your vibe.
Cool. Yes, and Nixie's cool people.
Yeah, I've talked with her once before on here, and like I really enjoyed it. And her and I chat very briefly other times, but she played a big part in my evolution to where I'm at now. So the last thing I want to say is I've asked previous guests to end the show in their own fashion. You don't have to, but you're allowed to have the last word and take us out.
For those of you all who are sharing this space right now, I'm going to ask you to consider something. I'm going to ask you to consider that you are the first choice of the divine. Whether you call the divine God, whether you call the divine Allah, Yahweh, the divine, it, she, know that you were the first choice. And since you were the first choice, it took a long time for you to get here. You went through a lot of ancestral scars and smiles to finally come wrapped in the salvation and divinity and color that you reside in. So whenever there's a time that you consider that you are a mistake, I ask you to rethink that possibility and know that you were never a mistake. You may have been a wonderful surprise, but never a mistake because you really were the first choice.
Don't believe. Don't follow. Do not consume. Do not watch. Largely what I'm talking about here is reclaiming experience. This is what's been taken from us. It's a self-advancing, self-expanding, self-defining process, and it takes no prisoners.
The real world isn't a spiritual world, it isn't a material world, it isn't an empty world, it isn't a solid world. It's simply